there are an increasingly large number of women who are just choosing not to get married and are choosing to stay single. There's a mating crisis going on, and that women who are becoming increasingly college educated and getting access to resources of their own, that they do continue to exhibit an increased preference for partners with resources. Women are what we call hypergamous, right? Which means that we like to mate up in terms of achievement and educational attainment. And when you have a populace like we do in the US of women who are now on average more educated than men, it makes it more difficult to find a suitable partner. If you're a woman with an advanced degree and you want somebody who has at least as much education for you, that's going to lead to a more narrow pool of mates. And in fact, what we see is that there are an increasingly large number of women who are just choosing not to get married and are choosing to stay single. And in fact, there's a wonderful book called All the Single Ladies that is about this very phenomenon. And women are increasingly choosing to opt out of long-term mating if they're not able to find the relationship that they want.
Hey guys, welcome back. Or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Lumi, and today we're going to be looking at some more TikToks about the dating crisis. So this is part two. If you want to watch part one, you can take a look at it here. But yeah, now this, she's, I like how she calls it the mating crisis. It's kind of funny. It makes it sound like I don't know, we're just like a bunch of animals, which I guess we are, but I don't know, it's kind of funny. Gotta find my mate. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely dating has gotten a lot harder recently. I think it's mainly because we're all just sort of like socially stunted after COVID. I feel like the pandemic kind of ruined a lot of things for us socially because I mean I was in a committed relationship before COVID, but I remember like way before COVID, like dating was not as bad as it is today. Like it just felt like you would go out on dates to have fun. It wasn't like this like today it feels more like a job interview, where it's like all about the end goal and um it just feels very I don't know. Like all these there's all these like check boxes that you got to meet and all these like prerequisites that you need. Um Not saying it's all like that, but it just feels like there are more people who are dating to like marry than just to kind of like see where things go, Like I'm a big believer in you have to have like zero expectations to be truly happy in this life. Because when you just have all these expectations, and men are the worst at this, because a lot of men go in wanting like a girlfriend immediately, but when you're dating, you should be talking to multiple women at the same time. Yeah, you have to be talking to multiple women, men or women at the same time. Um, and I think whoever you like vibe with the most is the one you should be honest with, eventually have that conversation with. Um, and I think one big like mistake a lot of guys make is finding someone who, and I know why they do this. It's harder for men to um, find a woman who will give them like consistent attention, you know. So when they finally do, it's like it's already rare, and they put all their eggs in one basket, and then they kind of like they stop with the dating apps or they stop looking entirely, and all the focus and attention is put on this one particular person, and that what when in reality you should be looking elsewhere as well. Like you should be talking to multiple women at the same time, and until you have the big conversation, like, what are we? Are we gonna do this? Like, are we gonna fully commit to one another? That's when you stop. That's when because then after that point, it's like basically cheating. Doesn't have to be physical to be cheating. I think you can also like emotionally cheat on your partner. A lot of people don't realize that, but that's a thing.
Now the way that a man treats you has become a social status among women. We're seeing this with sprinkle culture. We're seeing this with like princess treatment, where women have become to like deem a hierarchy based off of the treatment from men, which in my opinion, that's a whole other conversation. Okay, now let's have that conversation. Women right now are having a really, really, really hard time knowing what to do with men. And my observation of what has been going on is that there is like a massive overcorrection happening, where there was so much mistreatment of women in relationships since the dawn of time. And now we've completely alternated into dump him culture, you're better alone culture, which I also understand. Like, statistically, unmarried women are the happiest demographic. It's for a reason. I get it. But this does put women that are seeking romantic relationships in a very difficult spot. Because it feels like there's this like collective view. It's like, okay, if you are with a man, he better be perfect, or else what's the point? Which again, I understand. Historically, that is better. But the problem arises when we begin to project it onto people that we don't know, celebrities, influencers, etc. And it's kind of turned into this way to flex on other women. Like, oh, I would never pay for that. I would never, like, my man would never. Which is really an internet thing. If you like go outside, like these conversations aren't really happening that much. And the problem is that relationships are the most personal thing ever. No two relationships are ever going to be the same. No two people want the exact same things. Yet women are feeling pressured to set a standard of values based on what other women are saying that they want and what they will not allow. And I think that's why women are feeling so unsatisfied with relationships right now, because they're not actually asking themselves what they want. They're like, oh, well, this girl on TikTok said that if a man makes me pay for something, whatever, We're slowly turning our own lives into like a Truman Show, where we want to make sure that if anyone were to look into our life, that no one could make like a discourse TikTok about it. You know what I mean? And also this whole time we are still centering men. This is still about men. Our values are being based off men, whether it's how much men like us or how much we like them, where we need to just completely shift the identity, I think.
Yeah, she kind of goes into my point earlier, how she said in the beginning of that video, she was like, oh, if you're dating a man, he better be perfect, right? It's exactly what I said before. It's like people are going into dating with this like end goal in mind, right? And I think it's self-sabotage, because you put all these expectations, unrealistic expectations, onto someone. You're projecting onto them, right? Which is not healthy. And it often leads to disappointment, or it often is self-sabotage, because when the other person picks up on that, they're immediately turned off, It's like, well, why am I jumping through all these hoops for you, It's like, you don't care about what I want. You don't care about like who I am as a person. You're just looking for basically a fantasy. And yeah, I think the strongest bonds, the strongest relationships are the ones that are grounded. Both people understand that the other is only human, and I think they're often the relationships that have the best communication. I think are the ones that last the longest, because communication is so important. Like, if you can communicate your feelings to your partner and feel safe doing it, like, you're gonna go far. Like, that is so important. What she says at the end is so true. Like, I feel like my last relationship kind of got messed up because my ex-girlfriend had a friend who was single, and she was constantly saying that like I wasn't good enough and like I wasn't doing this and that for her. Basically saying that like if I don't pay her rent, or pay for everything, basically like turning me into a human ATM. If I wasn't doing all that extra stuff for her, that I wasn't like a real man, that I wasn't like uh I wasn't treating her right. Like I was actually being like, downright abusive, not giving her all my like like that's how freaking warped her mindset was on this. And I think my ex-girlfriend, she was talking to her about this stuff a lot. And I think also social media was like spouting the same stuff that she started to believe it. And once that started happening, like I noticed we became distant, and I would, don't get me wrong, like I still paid for dinners, like I paid for like spa days, like I thought I did a lot for her, but I guess it wasn't enough. And no, but that whole mindset is extremely toxic. Like I hope that's something that changes, because at that point it's just like, well, you're basically giving into this whole like gold digger mentality, which isn't it's that is not that's not right. You should be someone because you love them, not because they're paying for everything for you. That's like, what is that? Then you're basically just an object at that point, right? Like you're a subscription package. Like you're the girlfriend or boyfriend subscription package, right? Like it's stupid. Like it makes it's just, I don't know, it's toxic, it's bad.
Okay, you just said something really brilliant. Something that's super common in my comment section is women will explain that they have talked to their partners about their needs and about their marriage for years and years and years. And it's not until they threaten divorce or actually get separated that their partners start to work on it. And I mentioned that to you and you said something that's totally brilliant.
Yeah, I know why that is. It's because as boys, we were socialized that unless you're being yelled at, it's not serious. So like from our dads, from coaches, every male that I knew, when they had a serious point, they yelled it at me. It was never a talk. It was never gentle. So I knew to take something seriously when I was being scolded, reprimanded, chastised, embarrassed.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I don't think, like in a lot of the settings I grew up in as like socialized as a woman, like even our coaches, like some of them yelled at us, but most of them didn't. Like we were instructed, we were guided. But he talked a lot about how like in male spaces, being raised, like you're screamed at, you're yelled at, you're hazed. And so you're kind of trained to respond to like crisis.
Everything else is brainstorming. Everything else is an idea. Like it's sad, super sad.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's really true. I feel like men, they just like their feelings get calcified, because they're taught at a young age that like you shouldn't be like having these things, like they're bad, and it gets kind of like bullied out of you. I remember, oh God, growing up, I remember there was this kid in my class who was always crying, and like he was very like, like the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, like that's basically who he was. He was very skinny, very small, like people were always bullying him. I felt so bad for him, like and like it just goes to show that like if you're emotional or if you cry as a boy, like people will just like, they're like wolves, man. They'll like, instead of picking you up, they will capitalize on it. Like they will feast on you, you know what I mean? Like it's brutal. Oh, and by the way, that guy's doing much better now, but man, let me tell you, the bullying did not help him, because now he's like, I think he took like hormones or steroids or something. Now he's freaking huge, dude. Like that's what insecurity will do to a man. That one was just funny. I had to end on a positive note there. And anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you like this by giving me a thumbs up. Dislike it if you dislike it. Let me know in the comments what you think, or if there's anything you want me to cover next. And consider subscribing if you enjoy this sort of thing. But anyway, I'll see you guys later.